Hi everyone, and welcome back to another exciting knife review by George. I've done 5 reviews today, so I'm going to upload all of them soon. So today, this one, we're going to talk about the Spyderco Roadie knife. Now, like all my reviews, if you've seen them before, I will simply put all these specifications into the description, the description part of the review, and we're going to jump right into the review part. Now, positive point is it's got pretty good build quality. I couldn't see anything that's wrong with this knife. There's just nothing wrong with it at all. Like in terms of build quality, it's really nice. So that's very nice. Now in detail, well, first of all, the blade. And this thing has the N690 steel by Bowler, and that's it's sort of like a similar to VG10 or 154 CM. In terms of the chemical composition, it's about around 1% carbon, and it's a stainless steel, so it offers a very good balance between the edge retention as well as the rusting resistance. And the sharpness of this knife is pretty good, just like a lot of Spydercos. The factory edge is very sharp. Knife is made in Italy, by the way, if you're wondering. And the knife is full flat grind, so that's also going to improve the cutting ability. And it's got like a slight, very slight belly on the knife, which I like. Easier to sharpen the knife, and it just offers a very good cutting power. And there's a slight finger choil on the knife. If you're wondering, put your finger here. It gives you a bit of extra security because the knife doesn't have an actual locking mechanism. You put your finger here, it sort of prevents your hand from cutting yourself, preventing the knife from cutting yourself. And the finger choil, because it's such a small knife, the finger choil is going to also give you a bit of an extra grip. I've got a medium-sized hand, and this finger choil just gives you extra space for your fingers. And it's just quite a small knife, and of course, if you live in, say, somewhere in a country where carrying a knife is not ideal, you know, like law reinforcement catches you with the knife, you're gonna get into trouble. This thing is pretty much not gonna cause you any trouble because it's so small. And any law reinforcement officers catch you, find this knife, and give you trouble, obviously they have something personal going on against you. Anyways, there's a Spidey Hole on the knife, but not serving the normal purpose. There's absolutely no way you can open the knife one-handed, by the way. But the Spidey Hole will, and along with the stand here, will hopefully reduce the weight sort of somewhat for you. And the blade style here is sheep's foot. That's sort of give you a bit of a tip here, not a very pointy one, but a strong one. There's a small lanyard hole on the back as well. Now, the locking mechanism, non-existent, but there is a spring here to sort of put some resistance in here to prevent your knife from accidentally closing on you. So the spring resistance is very high, actually quite strong tension. Again, law reinforcement officers should probably not give you trouble because it's not locking blade. It's quite small, so you can carry it on a keychain. Now, the weight of this thing, very, very, very small. No steel liners either. And it's got screw construction on the pivot. So if you have to clean a knife, at least you can take this screw off. Now, coming on to the negatives. This thing cost me, I believe it was 100 New Zealand dollars, or at least in terms of retail price, 80 USD, US dollars, $80 for such a small thing. I think that's quite pricey. Very, very small knife and $80, remember. So also, if you're planning to go, oh, I carry this knife in case something bad happens, I have to defend myself with a knife. This thing offers absolutely almost non-existent advantage over someone without a knife. It's just so damn small. It's less than 3 inches. It's almost just 2 inches long. So don't count on it, really. And the well, there's a lot of limitation to such a small blade. You can't really do much except opening a letter or opening a package. Cutting an apple is pretty much not very nice with this knife. It's just so thick and so short. Anyways, the blade. They designed it not to be opened one-handed. But to be honest, like opening it with 2 hands, it's not going to be super easy with if you had to like really, really big clumsy hands. This thing it's not going to be very easy to open. I can imagine if, say, particularly if you had a lot of lint in here, and it's going to be hard to open with all the spring tension and like very small amount of blade coming out here. Anyways, the handle. Well, the construction of the handle is like with 2 pins and 1 screw, so you can't completely take this thing off. So try not to get it too dirty. And when you use it, definitely do remember it doesn't have a lock. And the lanyard hole here, it's not super big, but I imagine you don't put a super fat ass lanyard on this thing when it's such a small knife. So I guess it's not really that big a deal. Due to the fact that it's a slip joint design, obviously not flow through. So the speculated positive points are, there's a opening indent here instead of a sort of a Swiss Army knife, sort of like a groove, I would say. I think it's probably easier this way with people with very, very small nails, very short nails. I think it's probably a bit easier this way than if you had like to groove it instead. Just small advantage offered by this design. I'll say the negative thing is, I don't know why this thing is made so thick. Excuse me. But the blade here is like, it's quite thick for the sort of size of knife you get. And it's just kind of like, you don't cut into things very well with such a thick blade. And I think in terms of weight, such a thick blade certainly doesn't help either, but it's already a very lightweight, so maybe it doesn't matter. Now, final notes on the knife. I think Spyderco is trying something new, and that's all good because I enjoy having Spyderco just trying something new and using new steel, using new concepts. And I think they're trying to kick into this market of non-tactical, but rather gentleman folder kind of styled knives. That's all good, but the price on this knife is just rather quite high for what it is. I mean, $80 US as retail price. Is almost 3 or 4 times as much as, say, a Victorinox knife with similar function, or perhaps even more functionality with like a can opener or bottle opener. And those knives are also fairly easy to find and wouldn't get into too much trouble with the policeman. $80 is just too high a price for everyday user. I mean, I'm a Spyderco fan. I bought this knife because I like Spyderco. And I think normal other people, like my friends who don't know Spyderco, they would just think he's insane purchasing such an expensive knife for such a small knife. So I don't know. I would say the competitive option is certainly there's plenty. Maybe this knife is more for fanboys. Interesting thing is that this knife has somewhat a super steel or premium steel, which is the N690 steel on it, whereas Swiss Army knife or Leatherman, they offer knives usually of this size, just a pretty much like a low to medium carbon stainless steel, whereas this thing is fairly high in terms of carbon content. So that's interesting. Adds into my collection with the new stainless steel type, the N690. Anyways, that concludes the review of this knife. I hope you enjoyed it so far, and I will see you next time. Stay tuned.